Hey guys, welcome back to another video. It's your man J Will. So this is the Uhans Max 2 that I've got in here. This is my review of this phone. This phone actually has Android 7.0, 4 gigs of RAM, 64 gigs onboard storage, a MediaTek processor, but it has 4 cameras and it has a fingerprint reader and a 4,300 milliamp hour battery. So this phone is a mammoth 6.44 inch display. It is a big phone. It is huge. I don't even have to bring a phone in to, well, I'll show you one of my bigger phones. This is how big this phone is. Now, you know how big the Z Max is. Look at that. This is huge. This is a big phone, but it does have, you know, its perks. If you're a person who wants to have a tablet in their pocket, or you don't make a lot of phone calls, because I'm a big guy, and even me holding this to my head, I think it looks a little ridiculous, but a Bluetooth can solve that. There's some high points to this phone, and first of all, it has a 1080p display. It's 6.44 inches, so it's pretty much 6.5 inches. It's definitely doable for a guy who has big hands. You could actually use this for a device. I'm a big guy, and I could use this. But I don't know how long I could use it. This is a straight up tablet in my pocket, pretty much, with phone capabilities. So one question that people ask is, does it work for US LTE? No, it does not have US LTE on T-Mobile. I've yet to test it on Cricket, but I think you'll get 3G on Cricket, or 3G, 4G on Cricket. Let me see the band here. Yes, you will get 3G, possibly 4G on Cricket. So, that's a huge plus. But this is a big phone. Remember, there's a phone for everyone. It's big, but it's not as big as I thought it was going to be when I ordered it. So the intriguing part for me was the 4 cameras. So it has 2 cameras on the front there, and then 2 on the back. Now the cameras and the display are high points, but also low points. These cameras are not good. They're good. They're just not good. Does that make sense? These cameras are not very good. They're doable for social media, which is the norm of what people do, and that's pretty much it. You don't look to get some stellar footage from these, but I'll show you some footage, and you can be the judge for yourself. I think they're, below average. Take a look at the footage. All right, here's some video footage from the rear camera. Get a sense of how the device will perform. Remember, this phone costs $140, so you need to set your expectations as such. Let's check the zoom. It has, looks like 4 times zoom. Decent for $140, but there's definitely a lot of options for a $140 phone. But this is this device, massive 6.4 inches with 2 cameras on the front and the rear. And this is the rear camera. All right, now here's the front camera on the device. This is the type of quality you would get if you were outside. This is the rear camera of the device. This is the type of footage you could possibly get from this device. This is front-facing video from the cameras on the device. The big dog. All right, so what'd you think? Front and rear cameras, meh, doable for social media. But when you have such high-end cameras in your catalog already, the cameras was the reason I kind of was intrigued by this, and then the big screen. So when the cameras didn't pan out, I left it to the big screen. The cameras are doable, but it's that knockoff camera software, you know the one. It does have the bokeh effect, as you can see, that you can do. You can do that without 2 lenses, though. It has it on the front and the rear, so there's some pluses. It's just not up to my standards. Processing power on here, this thing has that same old kind of setup that most of these phones have that you import. This isn't a bad setup, folks. I mean, the cameras are high points for me. iPhone has to have really good cameras in my catalog now. And this one is not at the top of the list, but they're not horrible. They're just not good. But after that, you get a 1080p display, Android 7.0, a 4,300 milliamp hour battery, 64 gigs onboard storage, 4 gigs of RAM. You just get a massive 6.4 inch display. I mean, do you see this? This thing is huge. It's huge. And it's got a metal body. It's got a fingerprint reader. I mean, it's dual SIM. It even has Wi-Fi calling. Do you see this? It's got Wi-Fi calling and I'm doing it over T-Mobile. This is crazy. So I was kind of surprised at that, but there's a phone for everyone. And there's someone out there that's going to like this phone. I actually do like it. I just couldn't carry it every day. It would get kind of cumbersome. I would get a little overwhelmed carrying this as my only phone. Not because of the LTE and all that stuff, just because of the sheer size. It's good when you want to watch the media and stuff like that. Speaking of watching media, there's a bottom firing speaker there, and it's plenty loud. It's actually pretty loud, even though it's a bottom fire speaker. At least it's not on the back like a lot of these phones have. So this is for 140 bucks. You might say, well, Jay, now this phone obviously isn't a phone that's for the US, but there's people out there who import phones like this because this phone does have a metal body. It does have 4 cameras. With the right tweaks, I'm pretty sure. I've watched some other videos on this phone, and they said the camera was really good. But they really got into manual settings and created the environment. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give it to you like real-world testing, taking pictures here, taking pictures outside, shooting video outside. The norm, most people don't use pro mode on their cameras, even if they don't have a phone that costs 130 bucks or 140 bucks. They just take it out, boom, snap the picture, and they're done. So with that being said, 140 bucks, it's worth 140 bucks. If you're going to use it in the US, know that you won't get LTE, but you do get Wi-Fi calling, and you'll get 3G, kind of 4G on AT&T Cricket. It's a big phone. It's kind of heavy. The screen is absolutely gorgeous. It does rival some of the other big phones I have. The screen is actually probably a little bit better than the Z Max's screen, and I don't even have the brightness turned all the way up, as you can see there. It's kind of like on 35%. It is a very bright and vivid screen. Very nice. Touch sensitivity is actually really good. And I've actually been running Nova Launcher on here. I decided to switch to Nova Launcher, and when I switched to Nova Launcher, the performance, it got even better. It's not that it was bad performance before, but it's just really smooth with Nova Launcher on here, and I was pretty excited about that. So this isn't a bad purchase. I'll have a link in the description down below. You get a big beefy battery. I've actually been on this battery for a couple days, I think. Let me check the battery here. I've got a day and a half left, and I've been on it for a full day. So that's pretty good, and I've got about 2 hours, a little over 2 hours of screen on time. So it's pretty decent. You'll get a lot of battery, and I got 60% left. So 40%, 2 hours of screen on time, 2 hours and 15 minutes of screen on time, 1 day of use, 1 full day of use is what it said. It's actually right at a day. That's pretty cool. Let me see here. Yep, 1 day, 0 hours. See that right there? And then 1 day and 14 hours left. And you'll get more than that if you're not, because that 2 hours was just me doing like this. Straight. I was just watching movies and videos on YouTube. This is actually a pretty decent phone. If you like the Z Max and you're not afraid to take chances and take risks, and I'll probably match this camera against the Z Max in another video to give you some idea of what you're dealing with. But this is a mammoth device. The processor in here is a MediaTek, but for this phone, it's got 4 gigs of RAM. Remember, 64 gigs onboard storage, and dual SIM and SD card. There's a lot to like about it. It's just the downfall for me was the cameras were not as good. And that's pretty much it, folks. Some people say the MediaTek processors are trash. Most of them are not great. But for this phone, it's got 4 gigs of RAM. It's not one of those MediaTek phones that have 1 gig of RAM or 2 gig of RAM. This has 4 gigs of RAM, so it compensates that way. It's super smooth. And it's pretty much, even without this Nova Launcher, it's pretty much a stock UI. So there wasn't much bloatware, it's nothing. It's a pretty big, massive phone that I would definitely use for media content and just watching videos. And I made a few calls on it. The calls sound crystal clear, actually. It does have an LED flash on the front and the rear, so This is decent, man. It's 130 bucks or 140 bucks. If you want a big phone and you want something that's going to be great on battery and good for media content, knowing that the screen is beautiful, it does have a fingerprint reader too. I mean, think about this. Now, I'm harping on the camera saying they're not too good, but think about everything else that it has. It's good. It's a good look. It's not. I'm not recommending this phone to anybody. I'm just telling you. I think it's pretty decent for the 140 bucks that I got it for, and I wanted to try it for those cameras. And the cameras did disappoint, but it's not a failure in my eyes. There's a phone for everyone. So this is the Uhans Max 2. I think that's what it's called. Uhans Max 2. I'll give you a closer look at those specs there. So there it is, folks. There's a review for the Uhans Max 2 4G phablet. If you're using this in the US, it'll definitely work good on Cricket because it has a couple of the bands that Cricket uses in AT&T. But for T-Mobile, no LTE. But you do have Wi-Fi calling on T-Mobile, and it's been pretty decent. So it's your man Jay Will. Big dog, big mammoth tried to take down the ZTE Blade Z Max. It's not a better phone overall than the Z Max, but it does give it a little bit of run for its money. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.